monitors in your upper arm. It's now all integrated into a wearable system. And I'm interested in this talk, so please welcome on stage Dr. Sandeep Shah.
Thanks very much, and thanks to Christian and the team for the very kind invitation. So I'm going to be talking today about the world of blood pressure monitoring and how my companies, TLT and ViCardio, are about to revolutionize that world. Essentially today what I want to cover is the technology itself, what it delivers, the problem and economics and opportunity that affords us with the whole world of hypertension, how our solution works and its applications and importance, and finally the power of the companies. So what I'm going to actually summarize in a very pictorial way is a video introduction to TLT and ViCardio. And recently we've been interviewed by Bloomberg International, and this is in advance of some developments that are occurring. We are in the process of announcing the completion of our pivotal clinical trial at the Barts Heart Centre in London, and also progression of our international registration program for both CE marking and US FDA clearance, which will be going through in the next few months. So this short video is going to introduce TLT to you.
What inspired you to engineer a new device for blood pressure monitoring?
High blood pressure or hypertension is a very serious problem, and actually it can cause a lot of medical issues. You'd be surprised to know that 50% of the world's adult population suffer from high blood pressure. And actually here in the US, 47% of the adult population suffer from high blood pressure. So hypertension is a real issue that needs to be dealt with and managed. However, the current technologies that are used to measure blood pressure, it's a stress driver to give a higher blood pressure reading than you would normally have. The medical community have known for a long time that the best way to monitor blood pressure is actually to do it in the home environment where you can get a truer picture. And so trying to fill this need and come up with a solution which is cuffless, which is easy to use and provides a lot of data for the doctors to be able to analyse is what drove the engineering. And I'm delighted to say that we are now to the point where we have our very first product, which is called ViCardio, that is going to the next stages of our development program.
So the world of blood pressure is really important. This is the single most important biometric measurement used in medicine and healthcare, far more informative than anything else, relevant to acute and chronic conditions, and actually very relevant to the preventative healthcare agenda. The market for hypertension is estimated as over $1 trillion US. This is based on old data, over 10 years old, from Harvard University, which is about to be restudied and replicated. And the latest feeling is that this market size will be in the order of $2 trillion. So it's a significant part of the global healthcare GDP. Simply, as you saw, the solutions we have in existence today are really quite archaic, based on the cuff, and people are looking for a continuous, non-invasive cuffless solution, which TLT have now in the process about to launch. Moving forwards, I'm just going to show you the technology in action. So,
blood pressure monitoring device, the ViCardio medical wearable device, which is measuring my beat-to-beat arterial blood pressure and displaying it via Bluetooth straight onto my smartphone. And here on the smartphone you can see my beat-to-beat systolic, diastolic arterial blood pressure, as well as my beat-to-beat heart rate. And underneath you can see an average of all three metrics over a 10-cycle period. In addition, you're seeing a very powerful TLT arteriogram, which is a representation of what is happening in my circulatory system. And from this, we are able to get other very powerful medical hemodynamic parameters, including pulse pressure, which is a very important perfusion index in medicine, as well as the normal dashboard for doctors, nurses, and patients to use and interpret. And in addition, from the arteriogram, we can measure other key vital signs and measures, such as beat-to-beat compliance, i.e. how stiff my arteries are, as well as beat-to-beat cardiac output.
So the technology itself is actually in various form factors. The form factor you can see on our stand, which is just there in A23, is actually a novel, luxurious medical wearable device called ViCardio, and you can actually have it demonstrated there at the stand. I'm now going to show you animation of how the technology works. So this is a micro motion sensor that has been developed by us, which is proprietary to TLT, that actually delivers accurate beat-to-beat systolic, diastolic pressures, as well as heart rate and other hemodynamic measures. And it does so using our technology and the method which is called optical power modulation. This animation will explain in a nutshell how it works. We're also very happy to go further in explanation if you visit our booth. So you see the form factor here with the sensor measuring the key parameters of blood flow. And delivering a beat-to-beat arteriogram. This technology is totally different from everything else that's been attempted. It is not a PPG sensor or pulse transit time technology. It's very unique, and the technique is called optical power modulation. You can see a lot about this method on our websites. Our world of TLT involves the whole host of required solutions for blood pressure measurement, ranging from the community to the ward through to critical care and other situations. And we're also developing our product for the preventive healthcare agenda, for the performance industry, be it in sports, be it in occupational health, or be it in corporate aid. And you can again learn a little bit more about our agenda by visiting our stand next door. We're also a technology that opens up new horizons in cardiovascular management, all the way from more precise early diagnosis, prognosis, sort of prediction, through to new arenas in theranostics. An example, by coupling our technology with calcium channel blocker treatments, we can actually change blood pressure variability, which we know is very important in both chronic and acute disease. And for the first time, we have a technology that can actually directly measure very rapidly the effect of changing dosages of various medications. So the applications in closed-loop medicine and repurposing of medication, which is a whole new industry developing in the pharmaceutical sector, is very appropriate for our technology. And our beat-to-beat technology delivers a whole host of opportunities in data management, looking at disease progression, mitigation of disease, and management of disease. And we're looking at this with a very strong holistic lens and detail lens, and have mobilized a number of AI and machine learning programs around the outputs that we deliver. in order to really deliver considerable change in precision medicine. The difference between our technology, just to stress, is that we are truly non-invasive. No energy enters the body at all, and we actually require no compression, no calibration at all. I know time is short, so I'm going to end with just a couple of slides. We have relevance in a number of areas in medicine. This is an example of the applications in the elderly relating to stroke, heart attacks. Our technology is a predictor of strokes and heart attacks, and then it actually manage a number of other conditions, including heart failure. But to leave with one slide, this is Dr.
I think this technology is going to provide patients with a wholly exciting way of measuring blood pressure. It's going to be incredibly convenient for them to use, and hopefully this will result in greater engagement of the patients in their own health care. The real future here is for patients to be measuring their blood pressure and providing doctors with the results rather than being dependent on attending the doctor's surgery and having a blood pressure measurement there, which we now know to be highly inaccurate. For instance, in 25% of cases where doctors attend a clinic such as mine here, the blood pressure can be falsely elevated because of the white coat effect. In another 15% of patients, it can be falsely low because they're unusually relaxed when they come and see us. So 40% of the time patients are encountering doctors in the clinical setting, the blood pressure measurement is unreliable. This is nonsensical, and yet we use this in day-to-day practice. So my whole focus in the blood pressure clinic that I direct here has always been to get patients to engage in blood pressure measurement themselves. The problem is that we have long-standing technology of the cuff, which is, as I said before, very outdated and somewhat inconvenient for patients. And we also know it now to be quite inaccurate. The cuff use of blood pressure will often produce a systolic blood pressure that's lower than the true systolic by up to 10 millimeters of mercury, and it will also overestimate the diastolic blood pressure by 5 or 6 millimeters of mercury. We therefore are producing inaccurate data, which has become a clinical standard. So I'm really excited that we now have a technology that seems to get around this problem that patients can actually use, and by engaging the patients in their own care and providing continuous blood pressure measurement, we'll be able to get a better idea of what's going on with their BP throughout the day and throughout the night eventually, and over longitudinal period, days, weeks and months, which will enrich our ability to treat them.
So you can see our technology at the ViCardio stand just over there. I'd like to highlight a couple of people. There's Peter Lakewaite, who's non-executive director of ViCardio, and Laura as well, who's in the audience there. Both of you will be at the stand ready to take any questions. Again, do come and see our technology in action. Thank you.